What is up, Retro Maniacs? Welcome to the Retro Card Chat Podcast. My name is Mike. I'm from Mike's Retro Trading Cards. And I'm joined by one guy who has been ready to go for the last hour and another guy who just spent the last hour trying to perfectly center himself on the screen. They are, of course, Joe Day and EP Eric Pahalik. How you doing, boys?
Yeah, like Mike said, I was ready to go for an hour, and EP is just, and he's still a little off. Like, you're not perfectly centered on the door, so it's just,
Yep, I'm not worried about it.
Yep.
EP with that beautiful mess behind him is not definitely.
If we had a Patreon, that content would be invaluable because I honestly feel guilty that we don't get to share with the viewers what just happened for the last. I'm not exaggerating. It was like a half an hour. So, yeah.
I feel like it's a miracle sometimes that we actually start the show and actually get the show like done.
Like
starting,
right? Like sometimes it's
the hardest thing we do. Yeah.
and the worst part is I'm in a house with central air conditioning and I had a fan going and I'm sweating because I keep getting up and moving this chair around. And and Mike's like, more to the comics, less to the comics, back up, forward, tilt it. And it was not going great. It was going so bad. I need to crack open a beer. I mean,
I think it's time.
I'd been dry for about a month. I'm going to a golf outing tomorrow morning.
Nice.
I know I'm going to drink at the golf outing, but I can't drink at the golf outing for the first time in a month. I need to drink with the viewers for the first time in a month. So I'm going to crack one open for the viewers. I got a little Trogs Perpetual Haze 7.5. It's a big can. It's
nice.
A big boy. Cheers, boys.
What's new and exciting, EP?
Well,
okay, that's not bad.
Enjoying that beer.
Oh my God. What have I been missing? Hold on.
You said Trogs? Pennsylvania-based Trogs. That I got
Camp Hill base.
I got some of their new
look at you.
IPA, so
there we
that's
go.
What I'm
little
drinking.
Trogs.
Yeah.
I just have coffee in my wonderful Ember mug. There we go. Give us a call.
Give us a call.
Available.
Trogs or Amber mugs.
Yeah, I don't care.
Either one works.
Ember, EMBER. Yes, check them out. They're very good. What's new, EP?
I spent a lot of time this weekend just pricing cards and sorting cards for the upcoming card show I'm doing. I'm going to plug that again. But Kevin, the guy that we know from the card shows at the Susquehanna Valley Mall, is holding it. Now, this will be my first card show. So it's at the First United Methodist Church in Muncie. It's a 602 South Market Street. It's 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. If you're anywhere in the area, stop by. It's going to be, I think it's going to be pretty well attended.
Location. Muncie, PA.
Absolutely, yeah.
A lot of the dealers that go to the Susquehanna Valley Mall show are going to be there from what they were saying at the last mall show. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm excited. I feel ill prepared for it, but that's probably what everybody feels before they go to their first show. Like I just feel like I haven't done enough and I need to do more, and just trying to get everything priced and sorted, ready to go. So it's easy on the day of the sale.
I guarantee you, EP, if I go to the show, you're going to have a good day. So I've been waiting to flip through all those cards you have. I might get there super early. I might go help you set up. I don't know. You're gonna get boxes and sit them out and be like, why are there only half as many? I'll have there's my stack, EP. So, yeah.
Now, if EP, Mike has set the precedent that if he helps you set up, you need to buy him a breakfast sandwich. Because when I used to help him set up at the flea market, he would always buy me a breakfast sandwich. So, I mean, there you go. If Mike is there, help you set up, get one of those breakfast Sammies. Some bacon, some eggs, some cheese. You'll be set.
All right.
Now I'm hankering a bacon, egg, and cheese from the flea market.
I know they were
20 years ago.
They were good.
They were really good.
Yeah, I don't know. Good stuff there. So, Joe, what's new with you? Other than drinking beer, nothing cool.
Not really. I'm gonna ask the viewers something. I want the viewers to comment on this because we were just kind of making fun of my OCD a little bit at the jump.
No, we weren't. We would
a little bit. Never. So
we love you, Joe.
Here's another Joe Day OCD thing. So I have these. I'll just show the one right here because the other one Actually, you can kind of see it at the end. Those are the Kenny Pickett, Dan Marino dual autos, right? The two that I had graded from BGS, both came back BGS 9s. Very pleased because those are tough cards to grade. They come out of the box terrible. Shocking, I know. So I sent them both off. Both came back. Same exact card, 2 completely different cases. BGS gave me 2 different cases for them. One is the label with the auto label, the 2 label thing.
Yeah.
The other is the label with the Beckett logo, like through the acetate with the auto grade on the back. They did offer to recase one of them to make them consistent. Now, I asked them a month ago to do it, and they're going to pay for the whole thing, shipping, everything. They're going to pay for it all. I asked them a month to do it. This is before I put them up on display. Do I send one back in to get reholdered so they are consistent? Or do I say, you've dealt with it for a month and you haven't really concerned yourself too much with it? What would you guys do?
I'd be okay without changing it, but that's just me.
Okay. Mike?
It's hard for me to answer what I would do because I know what you have to do.
Oh yeah. If
you don't send it back, no matter how long you've had it, it's just going to be there. It's going to be a seed.
Yeah.
That seed is just going to grow. It will continue to grow. And then you'll end up doing it and having to pay for it anyway.
Now, to be fair, I am not
up in the middle of the night, walking over there in the dark, looking at us, saying, "Oh my god, I gotta get."
If you can be as
not
worried
early in the night, but it's early in the
were,
morning, I look at shit like that, and I'm like, come on.
But you were so worried about where your chair was and how you were lined up in your screen. Come on, you're gonna be okay with that being in a completely different label? Come on,
I know it's annoying.
Did they give any indication why they would do that? Like, it doesn't make any. Did you pay for a different level?
No, they didn't. So what's weird is Beckett doesn't put the auto grade if it's below a 10. So I thought maybe that's why. And then I looked, no, it's an auto 10. So I don't know why they did it that way. So yeah, very confusing. But yeah. So viewers, is anyone as OCD as I am? Comment below. Let me see if you have any of those Piccadillys. I guarantee you there are some people. You've met card collectors. There are some people out there like
but I've met you and I've known you a long time. So yeah, that's why I feel like I'm in a good position to make that judgment. This coming Saturday, I don't know if you guys are aware, not only is EP doing his first ever card show, we're also doing another live stream on Saturday. What is it?
There we got a soundboard now. Yes.
Or on my cell phone.
Still perfect.
You like that?
It's our 700 subscribers or whatever. I don't know. Yeah. Well, at least we're actually over this time. I think last one we were a little under. Doesn't matter.
We were at $5.99, I think.
Have to be some really bad stuff happen between now and then for us to get down below that, right?
Yeah.
Well, I am back. I'm off the wagon, so who knows what could happen.
Just takes one episode. So yeah, this Saturday, what time? About 8:00, I think we were planning on doing it. So will that give you enough time to count all the money you made at the card show?
It should.
Okay.
Or get back and restock, refill all the boxes.
You think I'm joking, man? I have cash on hand. I sold cards. I have money. Yeah.
All right.
Cash money.
Well, I'm hoping you come help me set up.
I will be there if I get first dibs at the box.
EPO's the actual people will come to the show and EP will have like 3 cards. Because when you see Mike walking off with 3,200 count boxes out to his
fairness, nobody that goes to the shows around here buys the stuff I buy anyway.
That's true.
Yeah. Unless he has a couple stray Jordan cards or something in there that people would pick out. So, guys, my son was home over the weekend. He doesn't come up very often. He's, big man now, graduated from college, works for the Flyers, doesn't ever hook me up with tickets. I feel like I should be able to meet the team, get autographs, but whatever. I digress.
At least have one on the podcast, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Let's get a flyer.
But you know, we were having a discussion the other night about name origins, and you know, I looked mine up and I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. So I thought this week I would let you guys know the origins of your name, the meanings, so to speak. So, you know, Joe, your name in original Hebrew meant Jehovah shall add, which perfectly describes you, I believe.
Yes, Jehovah.
Yeah, Jehovah shall add. Eric,
Okay.
yours means fruitful or abundant, which clearly, if you're anything, you're abundant.
He's abundant.
Damn
he
right.
is abundant.
And of course, you know, mine definitely means a gift from God. And I was like, you know what? Yeah, I feel like these are right on. Like a gift from God. Like I feel like that's an apt description of me. Wouldn't you guys agree?
Oh, absolutely.
I thought Jesus was the gift from God, to be fair, but I guess Michael, that comes in.
This comes from Hebrew, so it like
predates
all that stuff. So, yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
When you first told us you were going to do this, you didn't tell us any of this. I knew it was going to be something ridiculous, but for some reason I thought it was going to be last names. So I looked up the origin of my last name, and it's dairy farmer. Day is a long lineage of dairy farmers, but
so Jehovah shall add a dairy farmer.
Dairy farm. Yeah, there it is.
We need dairy
EP is definitely abundant. Mike,
very abundant. And I'm a gift from God, right?
Yeah. Wow. Something like that.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Viewers below.
Comment
like below your name origins.
We are all in agreement then that these are apt and quite fitting. So I feel like that might be a fun little thing.
Are you okay, Mike?
I'm perfectly fine. Why?
Because I feel like looking up your name origins and looking up your family history, that sort of stuff, is kind of like a midlife crisis kind of deal.
Oh, dude,
he's well beyond midlife.
Next thing you know, you're going to be showing up in like some brand new hot car that's you've been pining over for a long time that drives really fast. So
I don't know. Maybe one of these days. I don't know.
He's going to roll in a 1994 BMW Z4 James Bond GoldenEye style. Yeah, that'd be great.
I'll show up in a Mazda Miata. Nothing is cooler than a big guy in a Mazda Miata.
Than a almost 60-year-old man in a Mazda Miata.
I am not almost
He's
60.
not almost 60.
But when I get to 60, you damn well know I'm going to have my Corvette like every other 60-year-old.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, let's actually get into the news.
For the 3 people who are still watching.
I'm still here.
Let's get to the...
Yeah.
We love you guys. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes. Thanks for sticking with us. So, in typical fashion, we drop a video Monday morning about the big Panini lawsuit against Fanatics. And within 2 hours, it's obsolete because Fanatics countersues Panini and nobody cares about what we're talking about anymore. But yeah, wow. Did you guys hear that Fanatics has countersued Panini?
Fuck Fanatics.
Yes.
Wow.
Bravo,
All right.
Fanatics. Bravo.
All right,
Well
I
played.
just wanted to say
Well played,
that because the last 2 things on our channel is EP dropping an F-bomb. 2 out of the last 3 things. EP dropping an F-bomb and Tito Santana dropping an F-bomb. So I felt I needed to get one in there before EP decides to go.
You're no Tito Santana.
Yeah.
You aren't.
Yeah, so I'm a little actually upset with you, Mike. Because you say all the time how in you are with Ruben, right?
Hmm?
This is the second big story I feel that has dropped after we record the podcast. And I'm starting to wonder, are you actually in with Michael Rubin? That's the real story here. This is twice now.
Look at the shirt he's wearing. Of course he's not in with Ruben. He's changed teams.
That's true. It's weird you're wearing that shirt on the day we talk about Fanatics countersuing Panini.
It might be, yeah. Well, I'm wearing it as a tribute because before long, you're never going to see this logo again on cards. So let's just be straight up with it here.
Pour one out.
Retired rookie. It's coming.
So, yeah, Fanatics in their countersuit claims that Panini was stagnant and they were happy to perpetuate the status quo, and that Fanatics will be better for the collectors, and that the leagues chose Fanatics because Panini wasn't innovating. I mean, they're spitting facts there, right?
Yes, 100%.
I said last week, I believe most of what Panini put in their lawsuit. Like, I don't know if it's legally actionable, any of it. I believe everything that Fanatics has put in theirs, except for the innovative part. Like, both companies tried to claim they were more innovative than the other one. Neither one of them are innovative. Let's just get that out of the way right now. The two innovative things Fanatics have done for cards.
I mean, they haven't really been part
They
of
haven't
it.
been doing it for a year yet.
Yeah.
So I mean, like,
I remember us waxing poetic, EP most of all, about a buyback program. Okay.
When was the last time they did? That was amazing. They're going to do that again this year.
Every company has buyback programs. That is
not
not
like that. Not like that. Even close.
Not like that.
Give me a break. Upper Deck does buybacks for Marvel cards all the time. This is
for the
MVPs, where you can go into your card shop and sell the cards, or give the card to the dealer and get credit. Like,
and then they did something really awesome with them, right?
They're coming out, and I think
they just put them in this year's.
I think they're putting them in this year's
numbered buybacks.
I think they're
so. I guess that and taco refractors are innovative. Let's not joke around. Like, none of these companies are innovative anymore because there's no competition. No one's going to be a Pacific anymore. Say what you want about whatever Fanatics is going to do. They're not innovative. They might be innovative with their marketing. I mean, sure, but they haven't done anything, and I don't think they will. They're going to go status quo as well. I'm not excited. I don't see anything that I'll get overly excited about, except having Topps Chrome football back. That's it. I don't expect to see anything that's going to be game changing from an innovation standpoint from Fanatics in terms of the cards. Maybe how they market the cards, maybe how they tie them in with gambling, maybe how they tie them in with grading and breaking and things like that. Sure, all that's innovative. But that's for the collector. I don't see much innovation coming out of Fanatics.
Yeah,
I hope I'm wrong.
Out of that, like that first list that the first couple things you listed, there was one. The only one that I kind of disagree with a little bit is that Fanatics is going to be better for the hobby, and we don't know that yet. Like that's something. Everything else though is like a check mark. Yeah, to be determined. Yeah, but I mean, like I feel like everything else is check mark. Like Joe said, all true except for that one, and that one is yet to be determined. And I just I'm again, Fanatics is just saying stuff that everybody else was thinking about Panini already, so that's why I said bravo. Like I think a lot of the stuff I obviously haven't read the entire countersuit, but the stuff that I've heard is all makes sense. It's all just stuff we've all been saying.
Yeah, and Joe, I'll push back a little bit because I feel like the first game patches they had on the baseball players to use for cards was innovative. I don't remember anybody doing that before. Like, it might be paying homage to the past with game use stuff, but I still think it's a pretty cool idea. And like, we need to give them time. Like, they're not fully into this yet. Like, I'm sure most of the products were already planned out well ahead of time. It's probably going to take them a little while. Once they have everything, we'll see where they go. They may not, but I'm like, we've talked about this a lot. Like, card companies have been lazy forever. Right.
Oh, yeah.
Since the 90s, like when they had competition, and a lot of it comes down to the lack of competition, but we're never going to see competition again because the leagues aren't going to allow that.
That is my real concern. Like, if they don't have to innovate, I don't know if they
that's
will.
Fair.
Mm-hmm. And they haven't been at this a long time. And you're right. By the time they get all the licenses, at that point they should have things mapped out. Like, I don't just want to see Topps products though, right? Like, or whatever companies they end up buying. I don't want to see just Topps products. Actually come up with something new, come up with something different. We busted Panini for that since we've been back in the hobby. Like, everything they've done has been Playoff and Pacific, basically, right? And Don Ross. Like, I want to see Fanatics come up with Fanatics type products.
See, I think that's part of the reason why they did that last year, where they announced all that product lines that they were going to be cutting, just to give their creative teams some wiggle room to say, hey, we want something brand new that has never been done before. Maybe. Again, this is all speculation, of course.
Yeah,
but like,
of course.
you cut all those products. You're going to give the creative people some room to think about things and to try something different and try to come up with something. And hopefully, they just said, listen, everybody on the creative team, come up with your own ideas. Like, everybody come up with something, and then we'll workshop it, and maybe they come up with something totally awesome for next year. I'm looking.
And I don't mind if they come up with things that that end up sucking. Just try something different. We said that all the time with Pacific. They throw everything up against the wall. Some of it was great. Some of it was god awful, but at least they were trying, and they were trying to differentiate themselves. But Mike, to that point, I am just concerned with the lack of competition. They're just, 10 years from now, we're going to say, well, what really has changed? It's just one large company taking everything from another large company and just putting out the same stuff over and over again. As long as it keeps making them profits, that's all they really care about. Now, if you can't tell, viewers, EP, ever the optimist. Joe Day, ever the pessimist. So,
and I'm right down the middle on everything.
Mike, bought and paid for by Ruben. So, I mean, I'm outnumbered here. But
I mean, like, I thought it was cool though. Like, obviously, this isn't a product thing, but like Michael Rubin was visible at the National. Like, when was the last time anybody that was higher up at Panini was involved with the net? Like he does, like he is a personality, and like we've talked about many times, he knows a lot of people, and he has a lot of connections, and I feel like that's good for the hobby. Like it gets it exposure. Like they don't even have all the licenses yet, and I feel like he did more to promote like card collecting as a hobby just by being there in 1 year than any of the companies did, like all the companies did combined for all the years. Like it's just been this way for 30 years. We'll just keep doing what we're doing. And like you're seeing somebody come in. I feel like if he's in a point where he's saying, well, they're not innovating, they're not doing stuff, you're putting yourself in the position where now, Joe, you have to do it. So I'm going to give them the chance.
Remember that though,
to know. Well, yeah, maybe they do, maybe they don't. But I feel like they will do some stuff. We'll see. Like I said, we're all just speculating right now.
Well, we've all seen athletes where they just need a fresh start. They go to a different team, and all of a sudden they start hitting better, or they start running the ball better, throwing the ball better, all that sort of stuff. And sometimes you just need a fresh perspective. And Ruben is somebody who wasn't in the hobby, but from afar looked at it and said that these things need to change. And hopefully, again, we can't see into the future, but hopefully he is that fresh start for the hobby. That'd be awesome.
If innovation makes him more money, he will do it.
Yeah.
Like, let's not pretend he's just some like cool collector who's just coming out and having fun.
No, he's a businessman.
No, he's a businessman. So if innovation makes him more money, he will absolutely do that. The one thing I will say, Mike, is the three of us weren't anywhere near as involved in the hobby when Panini took over the licenses. So we don't know how they were when they first got in. From what I understand, people loved Panini when they first got into the hobby because of some of the products they were putting out, like Prism, National Treasures, and Flawless and things like that. So we don't really know when the dip happened. It was when they got complacent. Obviously, I don't know where that is in the time frame. But to be fair, they probably did jump into the National, and they were a bigger force when they first got things. But then they just let it slide. Hopefully Fanatics learned from Panini, and they won't do that themselves.
Well, again, I think them cutting those lines kind of leans into that, where they're like, hey, look, these products are kind of stagnant. People aren't excited about Gypsy Queen anymore. They aren't excited about some of these products, like 5,000 different versions of Topps Chrome. You're just doing too much of that. We need to cut some of that stuff, or we're going to end up looking just like Fanatics, producing the same thing over and over again. So let's innovate. Let's cut some of the extra stuff, and let's try to innovate. Hopefully, again.
One big point that was in the lawsuit that really nobody knew until this came out was the fact that, we all heard the rumors last year that, Fanatics was looking to buy Panini. It was going to happen any day. Sports Card Radio was saying how many times that it was
like a countdown on Sports Card Radio.
I mean, apparently they were actually in discussions with Panini at the time. So like their info wasn't wrong, but they weren't trying to buy Panini. They were trying to get Panini to pay Panini to give up their licenses early. So, when we talked about the Topps Making Basketball tweet that came out, that was all tied into this stuff, that they were trying to get them to give up the license. And apparently Panini was negotiating with them, but they were not really negotiating in good faith. Apparently, they were slowly walking along the negotiations. They were using cooked books for their profit numbers and what they expected to make, because Fanatics was going to offer them amount of money based on the potential profit they were going to be missing out on for the next couple of years by not making cards. So they were basically, Fanatics was willing to pay them the profit they were going to make to no longer make cards, which, if you're Panini, that's a pretty good deal. Even if you don't want to get rid of them, like, why not just take the profit up front and say, okay, here you go? But
because they care about the collection.
Because they just didn't want to do it, and they were giving them fake numbers that were inflating the value of the company, trying to get more money out of it. And apparently it was Panini's CEO, what's his name, Mark Warsop, that was the one who actually told Fanatics that they weren't the real numbers that they were using. Like, wow.
Was he the guy they were going to also try to bring in, but then ended up not bringing him in?
They were discussing that with him,
Last week I said, there's no heroes in this story. It's very much like Tiger King, right? There's everyone's terrible, right? So it's hard to kind of root for anyone, because, again, at the end of the day, it's a big business suing a bigger business, and that big business suing that smaller business to then try and just make as much money as they can. Like, the fact that people are rooting one way or the other kind of is hilarious. It's the whole our corporation's people kind of thing. But the one villain in this whole story, I think, is Mark Warsop.
Or is he the hero?
He might be the hero. He's the underdog hero. Just wait until the movie comes out.
Yeah.
He's the guy.
Well, actually, now that you say that, EP, I was like, he looks like someone. There should be a made-for-TV movie. I got the guy. He was in House of Cards, and I'm like, he kind of looks like Mark Warsop. I'm gonna cast him in my movie, my made-for-TV movie. The actor's name is Boris McGiver, by the way. He was in House of Cards. Great character actor. So there we have our star of this. But yeah, he's cooking books and trying to make Panini look quite a bit better than they are.
No, Panini's corporate is cooking the books, and he was the one that let.
He was the whistleblower. He was the whistleblower. He's the one that told Fanatics. Yeah.
He wasn't the one cooking the books. You have to remember, Panini's not an American company. They have the headquarters over in Italy. That's where, as Fanatics says in the lawsuit, they're just happy with funneling their profits to their corporate company head in Italy. So, which I kind of found it a little funny. They're like, look, they're taking all our money and sending it to Italy, kind of thing. But
right.
Joe, was that guy the guy from The Mummy? The Mummy and the Mummy? Was that guy?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay. All right. So this is one of those situations where, you're going to sue us over this, or you're going to do this ridiculous lawsuit. Well, here's a countersuit. Let's go to trial and put all your cookbooks and everything out for everybody to see. Let's go to trial with this. So I love that came back to bite them a little bit there.
Yeah, and Panini also pointed out what we did. Fanatics pointed out that Panini has had the licenses, both the NFL and NBA, for over 10 plus years. And now you're complaining that we're going to have them for 10 to 20 years. The hypocrisy of it. And the one other nugget that came out of this too was our old buddy Mark Warsop there. Also, we talked about the printers, right? And Fanatics had bought up GCP, which is the printer, and Panini was complaining, well, we used to have 15 of the 18 lines, now we only get 9. Well, Fanatics just basically said, because we had trouble with Topps and the printers and stuff, they felt like it was only logical to buy an ownership stake and control that, because it makes sense for their business, which I completely agree. But apparently the Panini CEO, Mark Warsop, also advised GCP to do the deal. So apparently the CEO of Panini was the one who advised the printers that, you should probably, they're the future. You might as well go ahead and do this. I don't know.
Hero?
I don't know if it's true.
He's the good guy in this story. He's the good guy in this story.
It depends on which angle, which side you're on. If you're on Panini's side, he's definitely the villain. If you're on
Villain or
Fanatics
bumbling idiot. I don't know which one's worse, honestly.
They're going to be giving up the license though. Like they're not going to be able to print everything. So
But
if
is
there's
that
a
his
deal on the
responsibility as the Panini CEO to tell a third
No.
company
No,
sell
definitely
this
not.
to our
But-
competition?
He's
No,
looking
but-
out for himself.
Yeah, exactly.
He needs a
Right,
job
right,
when
right.
all this hits the fan.
Like
and
that.
he'll
That's,
probably
I don't
have
know.
one.
That seems even shadier than I originally thought.
That's a little
That's-
shady. Yeah.
Yeah. Going back to your thing though, Mike, I made a comment last week. I'm going to bring that comment forward again about Fanatics saying, oh, Panini, this is you did the same thing. You had these licenses for 10, 15 years or whatever. So you can't, I need to know how often those licenses went up for rebid, so to speak. Were they actually just 10, 15, 20-year licenses, or did Panini have to try and re-get them every 5 years? Because that's different. If they were
It's
up
not
for,
different. They still
yes, it is. Absolutely. It's
They
different.
paid that
It's
amount of money.
It's absolutely different. If someone
but-
else had the opportunity to come in and get the licenses after 5 years, it is different. No one's going to have a chance for football for 20 years, is it? Right?
Sure.
No one's going to have the chance for baseball, or I'm sorry, for basketball for 20 years, or is it baseball for 20 years? Like
I think
20
basketball
year
might
lock
be 20 and football's 10. I think
it's something to that.
Yeah,
2
one
out
of
of 3
them's
of them are 20
21,
years,
I
and
think,
one
yeah.
of them.
the
one of them's
baseball is
10.
definitely 20.
So, I mean, to me, it is different that if someone has to go and re-up
Is
those
it, though?
licenses yes, it's
I don't know.
absolutely
Panini
is.
still it's just they top Fanatics is paying up front for the whole full 10 to 20 years, where Panini just paid every year an exorbitant amount of money for
Right, but if that gave someone the opportunity to come in and take the licenses every 5 years, like Fanatics wouldn't have gotten the license if Panini had those massive
But
long-term deals.
The reason I don't feel the same way as you is Panini is claiming that the duration of the license will hurt the collectors and hurt competition in the business, but they had it for that long, and it doesn't matter if they re-upped it. At the end of the day, they've had the licenses both for over 10 years. How can you claim that somebody having it for 10 years is going to hurt the collector when you had it for 10 years? Like, that's what's
Are they admitting to hurting the
Again,
collectors? Are they admitting to hurting the
sensibly-
collectors then?
Well,
Are they saying like
and Fanatics certainly pointed out all the ways that they were hurting the collectors in the lawsuit.
Sensibly, though, if you were bad for the collectors and you weren't making the league's money or whatever, in 5 years, those could be taken away from you. Someone could come and take them away. I working with consultants and contractors, they have to re-up every so many years. Another contractor could come in and take that. So they need to be on their toes. They need to be doing what they need to do.
But they
So
haven't been.
There is,
Like,
there
that's
is a
why
difference.
they're
To say
where
there's
they're
no
at
difference
now.
is kind of silly.
just-
I mean,
What?
It
I think
is.
like, but you can't. The reality of the situation is they've had the basketball card license for well over 10 years. So we're already to that point. It doesn't matter. They had it. That's really all you like. It doesn't matter if they had to re-up or not. They had it for 10 years, and like, we're where we are.
So my point is, if Fanatics screws up and are terrible, no one's going to be able to change that for 20 years. With Panini, at least there was the possibility that after 5 years or however long the contracts were, someone could come in and take the license. The NBA or NFL or whoever could say, you're really bad at this. You're not making us money. You're not getting the renewal on the license. We're giving it to Upper Deck. We're going to give it to another person who's trying to get the license. That's my whole point. I agree. They've had it for a long time and they haven't done great with it. Why they've been re-upped is beyond me. But in this situation, there is no opportunity to oust Fanatics if they're terrible. If they're terrible for the collectors, they're terrible for the industry. You got them for 20 years. You're in. That is it. There is no chance to get rid of them.
The thing is, I don't think the licensees really care about that. Like, it's all about the money. Like,
As long
Fanatics
as
is
it's money, yeah.
I think Fanatics is going to pay
I'm
whatever amount they
stupid for
need to
caring
for the
about
next
the
couple of
collectors.
years. Well,
Well,
no.
that's
I mean,
stupid about
you're not.
collectors.
You're not. But I mean, the bottom line is like that. I mean, the NFL, NBA, and the MLB, they're seeing dollar signs, and they're going to get their money from Fanatics, and Fanatics is probably going to pay.
And that
like-
actually brings up a point that Fanatics made in there, though, that the way Panini has done things were that they made their money and they made the distributors money, but they didn't do anything to like help the leagues or players make any more money off of it. So Fanatics, Michael Rubin's talked all along about working with the leagues. So I feel like the leagues are willing to take this chance because for the first time ever, they have somebody who's saying, don't just give us the license you have so we can make money off it and we're just going to use you. Like they want to work with them and find different revenue streams and opportunities to actually, benefit the players, the league, and Fanatics themselves.
The one caveat to my whole point here too is that we're in a whole different card world than we were when Fanatics was re-upping these licenses, right? The leagues probably didn't care anywhere near as much because cards were not selling for anywhere near as much. I was watching old breaks in 2014 National Treasures you get for a couple $100 for a box. I mean, we're in a completely different world where a company like Fanatics, who probably wouldn't even be in the card business right now if not for the pandemic, let's be fair, right? They probably wouldn't have seen these dollar signs and tried to jump into the card market. We probably would have Panini for another 20 years in 5-year increments, but the leagues probably wouldn't care because
they may have
to be business as usual financially. I mean, if the card market went up so high.
But remember the Bill Simmons interview with Michael Rubin
on episode
where we talked about on episode 1, go back watch it, where he talked about like they were looking for other like sports related areas to get into, and basically they picked cards because they were small. They were like, we can't get into video games because EA is big and they're like they had, they're the bully coming in and they saw like the little companies that were involved in the card market and like, oh, there we go, we can go in there and take
it's
over.
Kind of wild that people root for them in that way because they don't sound like EP. This is not a company that you would normally root for. Like this is Amazon coming up and buying up all these little companies and just taking over the world. And you would be upset with that normally, but you love it in this situation.
Well, Panini has been doing that. Panini has been doing that for the hobby since like 2012 or whatever. So I'm kind of just happy to see somebody else get the basketball and football licenses.
Football and basketball.
It's time for a change.
Hopefully I can buy football and basketball cards for $100 a box. For an actual like a hobby box, I know low end.
That's adorable.
or even 200, like 500. Was it $400 for a box of score football? Like, come on,
not anymore.
That should be $100. That should be $100 box of cards.
Right.
But I mean that's where I'm at with that. I love to open the cards. Before we move on, I just want to say again, I said it last week, that Fanatics is allowing them to use 9 of the printing presses. They're letting them use half of them. Despite owning the entire company.
That
blows my mind. I mean, they should be forcing them to use 2, but instead they're saying, you know what, we'll give you half. Like that. I mean,
I'd love to see that contract even before Fanatics bought it. Like, I don't know how that would work if one company buys the printing company, if those contracts are then null and void, or if they had to let
they would be buying the contract, but like, I guess with everything else Panini, they just figured, why should we bother with that? Because what are they going to do?
Company you can root for.
Exactly. Panini was definitely
complacent
and willing to, invest as little money as possible to making sure that none of this stuff could happen. So, well, I mean, I don't know where it's going to end up being. Like, I do feel the Fanatics countersuit is really just saying, well, they're really bad. It's more of a defense against what Panini said. It's not really something where they're going to win any damages or anything, but I think they wanted to get their side of the story out and they did it legally. So here we are, and we're talking about it. Gives us something to talk about, at least, right?
Yeah. Paul Lesko did say, I did listen to that podcast, Sports Card Nonsense, I believe, EP, you pointed us to.
Yep.
And he did say, you're looking at best, a resolution 2 years, at best.
Mm-hmm.
And that's before you even consider they might have to, like, go through the Hague because it's a European company. So, like, there's this whole other aspect to it that might take, like, 6 months. By the time an actual resolution would take place, I think something will be settled. I wouldn't be surprised if Fanatics at the end of this ends up with the licenses sooner than later. That's my bold prediction, is that both of these lawsuits are just to get Panini to sell their licenses to Fanatics. Maybe some of the IP too. It wouldn't be bad to have some of these products stick around, but we'll see. Because I'm a man for the collector, corporate shill, caring about the collector.
Yeah, okay. Well, one guy who definitely cares about the collector, Blake Martinez. Not sure if people are familiar with who Blake Martinez is, but yeah, he is the former NFL football player that gave up playing football in the NFL because he could make $5 million selling Pokemon cards. In fairness, he was really at the point in his career where he wasn't going to have an NFL career much longer, but that part of the story gets left out. You know, he didn't.
I read he made like $30 million in the NFL, which blew me away. I thought that dude was going to be on a vet minimum. I mean, no idea.
Well, he started for a couple years for EP's Giants.
Well, wasn't he kind of a star for the Packers for a little while?
It was for the Packers too, yes. But I mean, by the point in his career where he retired, it was coming to the end of his career anyway. So it's a nice story, but unfortunately, apparently part of the reason that he makes $5 million selling Pokemon cards is because guess what? Scamming people on Whatnot. Who ever heard of this before? Like, it's almost like if you want to rip people off, you just go to Whatnot. And apparently he and all his employees, he had a bunch of other people that worked for him as employees. They all had accounts. They were breaking like Pokemon stuff nonstop on
$11.5 million in a year, I believe.
Yeah. Pulling packs off of screen and ripping people off multiple ways, running gambling rings, like rigging their guess which color energy thing was they just a long list of stuff. And if you I know a lot of people probably aren't Pokemon collectors, but if you want to know the details on this, there's a guy, Rattle Pokemon, on YouTube that has now a series of 10 videos chronicling everything this guy has been doing, and he's been covering this for a while, but it finally got to the point where Whatnot finally banned him from being on there, supposedly banned the employees' accounts too. I guess they have other accounts too, though, because I guess Blake would show up an account called Boss Man and show up in the chats of some of the live feeds. Isn't it kind of interesting? They have a ton of accounts on a format where you don't get to see the bidding back end of the bidding history and
stuff. Almost like there's a shilling situation going on.
Yeah, it's crazy that Whatnot. There are just so many ways for people to scam people on Whatnot, and then Whatnot's just we'll refund the people that were affected by this. How long are you going to keep refunding the people out of your pocket, and maybe start doing something to keep these people from doing it in the first place? At the very least, have your videos available for people to be able to watch after the fact. I
have a theory about all of
Go
this.
ahead. I'm all ears.
Okay. So at first, I had to put Blake Martinez in my Google News alerts because I assumed if Whatnot kicked him off their platform, there must be a murder charge coming, maybe a kidnapping or a bank robbery. There's no way that he was kicked off of Whatnot for just doing what everyone on Whatnot does. There's no way. And I'm thinking, why in the world would they kick this high-profile guy off of Whatnot? He's bringing in a lot of money on
Pokemon breaker.
The biggest
on the
Pokemon
channel. Might be the biggest.
I can't believe he did not do something outside of Whatnot where, again, he murdered someone or something. And I thought about it. It's actually genius by Whatnot. We're there. I'm sure we've talked about this. Whatnot's got to be worried about regulation coming from the outside world. What better way to stave off regulation than kicking off the biggest Pokemon guy who, by the way, this isn't just making card news. This is making news.
Yeah.
This was on CBS, CNBC, all of the big financial channels. Blake Martinez kicked off of Whatnot. They're getting a lot of the facts wrong, but about cards in general, shocking, I know.
Shocking,
but this made national news. If Whatnot kicked off Backyard Breaks, it wouldn't. It would make our news.
Mm-hmm.
Blake Martinez being kicked off was big. And I'll tell you what, if I'm Whatnot, I'm thinking this is the perfect opportunity to say, see, it's not the Wild West. We're going to kick off the biggest name in Pokemon breaking on our channel. You don't have to regulate us. We're good. We're doing it ourselves. That's my theory. That's the only reason I can wrap my head around why Blake Martinez was kicked off, short of a murder. That is it.
Yeah.
Am I wrong? Am I tinfoil hat? I mean,
No, I don't think so. You might be onto something there.
No, Joe, to your point, and as Mike was talking, I thought to myself, Whatnot feels like Escape from New York, being in the prison town. Like there are no rules. Like it's just
Thunderdome,
they break it
baby.
themselves. It's under, yeah. I mean, it's that's what we're dealing with here, and to see the Blake Martinez get kicked out, get banned again. Like, yeah, he's the biggest one there, but there are so many other bad eggs there. I don't know if that route of Pokemon had any other examples of other people, or if there are other people that have been banned. Maybe they did it like a bit, brought down a big ban hammer or something and kicked a bunch of people. But I mean, obviously this one makes the headlines. So I mean, Joe, that makes total sense. That
it's kind of like whack-a-mole on there though, because like you're banning this one and four
Right.
more pop up over here. Like, and I do believe, like, I'm not a Whatnot expert at all, but I do believe there's an inherent issue with the setup of their system there that allows people to do this more often. Like, I feel like a lot of people are like, okay, if I'm on YouTube doing this, people will be able to see what I did forever. If I'm doing it, like even the small time people, if I'm doing something on Whatnot, if somebody's not recording my screen and keeping a copy that they can distribute to people, nobody's ever going to know. It's going to be somebody saying I did it, but they're not going to have the visual proof. Where when you're on different formats where there's stuff there that lives on forever, people will be able to see that.
Mind blowing to me. Mind blowing that people do it. People, as a buyer, I would never break with anyone and Whatnot, because sure, if they dip a card, as the kids say, I'm just getting my, it could be a $20,000 card they keep. I'm getting my $100 buy-in or whatever back. Come on, that's not the same thing. Whatnot? Oh, we're making the buyer whole.
Well,
no, you're not. You're really not.
By doing what they're doing is though they're encouraging the scammers. Like their system of, okay, we'll take care of it. Like, great, I'm the scammer. Okay, awesome. I can get away with whatever I want to, and then if they catch me, they're just going to pay for it.
That tells you how much Whatnot must make too, that they're willing to just eat losses like that.
Though, like that doing that alone, like take the money from the person that was doing it, ban them. Like they just have to do more. And I Dustin, we talked about his sponsorships. We're okay with sponsorships, but drop the Whatnot one. It doesn't sit well.
That, man.
Doesn't sit well with me that you're sending potential collectors that don't know all the stuff that goes on there to, like, you're sending them into the Wild West without a gun. So
we joke around all the time. To that point, real quick, EP, we joke around all the time that we will take anyone's money. We prefer beer sponsorships. We'll take anyone's money, except Whatnot. We're out on Whatnot. We
are in agreement there that people, Mailman Matt cannot believe us if he wants to, but we're not taking Whatnot's money. And I make that promise to the viewers of this channel.
Yes, we vow to you today, we will never take Whatnot.
EP, do you remember what your point was?
Yeah. I was just thinking. I was thinking back to, there's probably somebody at Whatnot corporate offices just sitting in their office sweating, constantly thinking, if I ban everybody doing bad stuff, we will have no people on the platform. So I can ban these couple that are really bad, but if I ban everybody that's doing this, we're going to lose half of our revenue. So there are probably people that are in a room thinking about that every day. And I just
and there are people in a room next to them sweating regulation, right? So again, to my original point,
coming over and
really
screaming
do believe
at
this
him, and
was
back out.
Right. This is them trying to push back, saying, no, we handle our business in-house. Just let us alone. We'll be good. So they can let 99.9% of the other people scam. And they got this one guy out, but it's a big name. It's a big profile.
99.9% seems like it's a little bit high, maybe.
99.8%.
There are rumors, though, that like they weren't even paying fees to Whatnot. So if that were true, it might have made it a little easier to kick him off.
Way easier.
If he wasn't actually making money. But like you said, if they are willing to get rid of him, if they were making money off it, like they should hopefully, maybe some of the other ones will think, well,
It'll
we
scare the other ones.
better not do this. I don't know. Like, and I'm not just trying to crap on whatnot. Like I understand they had an idea, and it's the new way people do things. Like, not really for me, but I'm a little bit older. Like, I'm sure a lot of people are into that, but at the same time, I don't think they ever understood like a hobby like this, all of the scummy people that will take advantage of whatever they can to try to rip people off. So, you know, hopefully.
I don't understand the no save videos though, Mike. Explain that to me. I don't understand how in their thought process that made sense. Like, I don't get that. That is
maybe
scammers.
Because of all of everything that's going on there outside of our hobby, like all the people that use it, it would probably take like a huge amount of bandwidth to be able to save that. So I'm assuming that's why. But again, they just didn't know that all the cretins that were in our hobby would be doing things the way they are. So like I'm not just crapping on whatnot, and you know, taking this step is a big step for them, and I applaud them for that. Hopefully they'll be able to work out some of this and make it a better place for people. So maybe people that buy stuff on there will be safer.
And maybe we'll take money at that point.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I want to end with talking about people taking other people's money. Leaf, our old buddy Brian Gray at Leaf, started putting out autograph cards of Topps and Panini cards that they bought and put their own autograph sticker on.
Love it.
I'm not even sure how I feel about this. I've been trying to form an opinion on it. I can understand why they're doing it. I can make some arguments in my head why it's not a big deal, and then others where it is a big deal. I'm not sure. So what are your guys' thoughts?
EP?
I feel like, I mean, there are a lot of companies that do buybacks and they buy cards and they tape a piece of sweater or jersey to the card and they sell that. So, I mean, it's very similar to that. It's just that Leaf is a bigger company than these other companies. So they're under more scrutiny from the collector, I think. But I've like, listen, we got these autographs. You know, we can do, let's do something crazy. Let's do something weird.
When I saw the story, I texted you guys. I'm like, boy, Brian Gray really knows the angles, doesn't he? Like, he's playing chess.
Yeah,
he's playing chess.
Angles.
He has angles for days. I'll tell you what, and our old buddy Ziggy who was on the pod with us a couple of weeks ago, made a point about you can only use sticker autographs for so long. There was some convoluted thing about that. So I'm not 100% sure how true that is, but with that plus this, it kind of made sense in my head. It's like, we have these Justin Herbert stickers. We can't put them on cards forever. There's only a finite amount of time we can. Why don't we do a buyback? Why don't we put them on Panini products, or, you know, some baseball players will put them on Topps products and sell them? And they're encasing them as that. They're not selling them as, they're not scamming anyone by saying this is a Panini auto on a Panini card that came out of a pack. They are encasing them, from my understanding. I don't know if they're having them graded or just authenticated, but they are putting them out as a Leaf sticker auto on a Panini card. And it's a great way to use the product that you paid for that you might not be able to down the road. It just, again, Brian Gray, man, he knows all the angles.
They're also circumventing the licensing thing too, right? I mean, technically they're not producing the card, so they're circumventing that so they can have a Justin Herbert in his Chargers uniform. Much I like this. Yeah, I know. It feels kind of gross, but at the same time, it's pretty smart. It's good.
Well, and the reason I struggle with it is because there are a lot of people that go out there that like get cards signed, like, and they get them authenticated and they sell the cards. Like, a lot of people do that. This is no different, but because it's being done by a company and not a person, but like the person doing it could also be a business. Like I do my card stuff as a business. So if I did that, I'm technically a business, but I'm not. So like, I've been struggling in my head with that, because I've never thought twice about anybody getting a card signed and authenticated and selling it.
By Rick. As
by
long as they're
Rick,
authenticated by
as long
Rick,
as they're
we're good.
authenticated by Rick, we're good. But like, is there a cutoff? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I really struggle with it because at its core, I don't have any issue with it. But when it becomes a company doing it at a higher level, like it feels like I have a problem with it, but I don't know that I do.
And that's what makes this such a great thing, right?
Like walking right on the edge.
All of us are kind of
right on the edge.
Yeah.
Walking the edge. They're not doing anything technically wrong at all. But it's like, because here's the worst case scenario. The worst case scenario, someone cracks it out of whatever case it's in and then tries to sell it on eBay as a Panini product, because which could happen. I'm pretty sure that Leaf stickers don't have like leaf across them like some of the Panini stickers do. They're just clear stickers. So you could game the system. Brian Gray's not gaming the system. He's being upfront with it. He's putting them in case and everything. It's the secondary people. We just talked about those cretins, Mike, right? It's the secondary people that we're concerned about. It's the ones that are cracking them out and then selling them as authentic. Like, look at this purple.
But
this must be an Justin Herbert. But it's still an autographed Justin Herbert.
Yeah, like, is it any different if I got Joe Burrow to sign the card for me?
I love this story
or I bought it from Leaf? Like, I don't know.
In theory, it's better than that. In theory, it's better because it's got that Leaf seal of approval on there. Whatever that is. But I mean, like, it feels like it's a little bit more legit than just having a signed on sign.
That's a good point too. Like, I was kind of teetering, like, oh, maybe this isn't great. Now you brought me back. I'm like, this is fantastic.
I am one of the most opinionated people you'll meet.
I love that.
That's why people hate me, and I can't form an opinion that I can feel strongly about.
I think we can all agree.
Freaking me out.
I think we can all agree. Brian Gray is he knows the angles. I don't know what a better way to say is.
However you want to take that.
However you want to take that. He has these stickers. However long he can use them for, or whatever. I mean, and he's making something out of it. I think it's a genius idea.
It feels a little bit like somebody making a fantasy football trade where somebody clearly makes that way better than goes on with the championship kind of deal, right?
Has both championships in his screen right now, right? I beat him with Bert Emanuel, people. Let's calm down about me making great deals.
I never heard of him. Well, Brian Gray, one thing I would suggest, just stop arguing on Twitter with people about this.
Oh, he's doing that? Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, Mario Alejandro, right? The baseball card blog guy.
Yeah.
He, had something. He doesn't really like this. I saw that. And Brian Gray was like, basically saying, the great thing about our hobby is that, like, basically idiots can have their opinion too. So, like, it's like,
I mean, that's a great thing about our hobby. I mean, that's true.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, man, I want to have an opinion. I'm so conflicted.
He did not steal the cards. He did not put his own Topps cards that look like Topps. He actually bought the Topps cards or the Panini cards, whatever cards he bought, and just put the stickers on. Said, we're doing this.
But it doesn't feel right.
But again, now here's the question, Mike. So if Brian Gray, right, or Leaf or whatever, went to
bought me
Joe
a case
Burrow
of beer,
signing,
would I put Leaf all over this? Yes, absolutely.
Buy Micah Blonde, buy us a couple of IPAs. If he went out to a signing of Justin Herbert and had him sign a bunch of cards and paid for them and then sold them, would that be any different?
I don't know. Like, if
other
you had Leaf card
versus sticker, because sticker autos are terrible. But other than that, I mean, would it really be any different if he went out and got those players to sign those cards?
Like, I just did the video with Tito Santana, which you can find on the channel. Go check that out when you're done watching this. And like, he was in a hotel room because he was there. A guy flew him in. He was going to sign autographs, have people sign, sending cards they can have signed. Like, it's that kind of, but on a sticker. But I feel like the one's okay, and I feel like the other isn't, and there's no legitimate reason why it should work that way. I don't know.
But at the end of the day, stuff like this is why I would call Brian Gray in this hobby a survivor, right? Like,
oh, he's like a cockroach, that's for sure.
He is Twinkies and
Jeez.
cockroaches, but
What? They're
but
survivors.
in all honesty, I mean, with Fanatics getting all the licenses of not just the leagues but the players associations, the ability for him to do things is going to be very limited. So he's going to have to think of different innovative ways to keep his company afloat at this point. This is a great way to do that. Say what you will about him. He is a survivor, and he will definitely, Leaf will be a thing for a while because he can do things like this. I think it's smart.
Well, speaking of Leaf and being able to survive, you talked a little bit last week about the licensing of individual players, and we were confused a little bit of how it is that a company can have an exclusive players association license, but Leaf could still be making cards with
Burrow, right?
Of players who are in the league. Not 100% sure yet on what this is, but your old buddy Des Bryant had a series of tweets because I guess
did win me a championship, by the way.
I guess he's making fantasy football related cards or something,
Genius,
which he
love it.
might not
awesome.
really,
I believe, which is also the name of a gun brand, which is weird.
But he may not have the license to be able to doing so. But in the tweet he shared, why don't you share with the viewers what you found out or what we ascertained by reading the letter that the Players Association sent to him?
Yeah, when I first saw this, the first thing that jumped out to me, and then when I sent it to you guys, the first thing I think that jumped out, definitely to Mike, I don't know if it jumped out to you as well, EP, but it was basically the NFL Player Association saying your set will use more than 6 players, either individually or in aggregate. So basically a card with 6 players in it, right? And that goes against our agreement, our current exclusivity agreement. Basically, am I missing anything there? That's the basic.
That's just what I got out of it. Yeah.
And when I saw that, I thought that's how Brian Gray can have Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert in his sets, even though Panini currently has the exclusive licenses, because it's under 6 players. So, I didn't go back and count that set and how many. I know he had Burrow, I know he had Herbert. I don't know how many other active NFL players he had, but I know there weren't many. Many of them were NIL deals, right? They were before the Players Association type of thing. So that might be a way for these companies to keep, if that deal stays the same, and I don't know, we don't know what Fanatics deal with the Players Association is. If that deal stays the same and it's for football, it must be for basketball too, because he had Steph Curry, he had Giannis in that Leaf set, right? Brian Gray had those 2 active NBA players, and I don't know how it would be for the MLB, but if it is the same, then there are companies that could still make current players, still not in their uniforms, still not with team logos, still not with NFL logos, but not many of them. They could do 6 and under of each sport. So I found that fascinating. I had no idea that was a thing.
Yeah,
Mike.
Go ahead.
I was just going to ask you, did Goodwin Champions have any active players, NFL or NBA or NBA players in it? Do you remember? You Goodwin some of that last year, I think.
Other than who is the one that they have, Joe? Ben Simmons. Other than Ben Simmons that protect us.
Well, they had like Josh Giddey in there, but
okay.
I don't know. Like, I don't know where it was released compared to like when he was in the NBA. So, but yeah, I mean, we are not lawyers. We do not know this for sure. We're still speculating about it, but it does make sense that, the Players Association is a group licensing, agreement. So apparently there has to be a number of them, which we guess is 6, that triggers it to become a group. So like, I guess because, that would limit players. If it would have to be a group thing, or else players would be limited from being able to make other deals.
Oh yeah, the car dealership or something, right?
Yeah,
right.
So like I kind of feel like, finding that information out does make sense, that it would have to be a certain number of them before that would kick in, because that would also allow the players then to sell their name and image and likeness to whatever else individually to be able to promote something. So
Right. Like you could have a car dealership where 5 NFL players could go out and promote that one car dealership. But if you get the 6th or the 6th to 7th or whatever, it'd be like, whoa, no, you can't do that. We have an exclusive deal with Mercedes or something like that. Right. Is kind of how I took it.
Or imagine being like a somebody starting a linebacker who's from a small town in Alabama or something, and have them go through the NFLPA just to make a deal with his hometown car dealership kind of deal. You know what I mean? Like that'd be ridiculous. So that does make sense.
All right. Well, I think we talked about enough this week. If you guys can explain to me why I can't figure out this Leaf thing, though, let me know in the comments. Like, which way should I feel?
Honestly, what do you guys think about the Leaf thing as collectors? Yeah. Are you here for it, or are you thinking it's a little too shady, even for Brian Gray?
I don't know. Just don't look to me for guidance. I'm not going to influence you on this because I don't know.
And remind the people, Mike, on the 18th.
The 18th, live stream, 8 o'clock. 18th? Saturday night. 19th. Saturday the 19th, Joe.
19th. My bad. I was just so excited to look for my air horn. Saturday the 19th.
That's okay. Nobody's watching anyway. We're good. All right, guys. That was a good chat, and I will see you Saturday night. Take care, guys.
Adios.
See you, boys.